Welcome to Queering Theology, Queering Philosophy. The Lord is all around His people. And today we are going to introduce a new section of eschatology. This is Queering Theology and Philosophy. And there are sections in theology, there are sections in philosophy. And so we had to combine theology and philosophy because of my past and the memory I have, the data and the Mahdi in Islam. A millennial was actually coined as a pejorative to hold premillennialism. Some proponents also prefer old death, and that when Jesus Christ will return, He's going to bring a new earth. And now, amillennialists rejects the future millennium on earth prior to the beginning, but that Jesus is presently reigning from heaven, seated at the right hand of God the Father. And remember, reigning is we are talking about monarchy. Actually, another thing you need to know, Christian eschatology. Christian eschatology is monarchical. It's about monarchy. It's not about democracy. They're not going to... Until that Christian dies, he'll die. He'll tell you Jesus is coming in 2030. Do you remember Harold Camping? He told people Jesus was coming, and he died. Harold Camping died, and it's the end. He had calculated and done everything. I remember I used to follow him ardently. I was doing the calculations, and I found, oops, it didn't work. And he had to apologize. Of course, people sold their stuff. Some people even died. They stopped taking their medicines and everything, thinking that now Jesus is going to arrive, and he didn't arrive. And finally, Harold Camping died, and that's it. No more date setting by him. And others are still setting dates. I mean, this year, do you know how many dates have been set? So many. How many of them have passed? They have passed, and we're still here. Yes. So, most Christians don't like the amillennial viewpoint. And that's what this Wikipedia article is saying. Few early Christians, chiliastic tendencies, that is millenarian tendencies in his theology. Now, Origen's idealizing tendency considered the spiritual as real, which was fundamental to his diet system, led him to combat rude or crude chiliasm of physical and sensual beyond. That's now giving us the views of Origen. Now, I want us to go on. Here, Amillenialism gained ground after Christianity became a legal religion. Yes, when Christianity was now legalized, before it was legalized, it was not a very religion. So, your religion was hey, but it was simple and basic. But when it became legalized, in the time of St. Augustine, amillennialism was the dominant eschatology of the medieval and Reformation periods. Augustine was originally a premillennialist, meaning he was waiting for Jesus to come. But he retracted that view, claiming the doctrine was carnal. I'm telling you, we have to read. Augustine was such a wacko. He was so funny. And it was just... the doctrine of waiting for Jesus was carnal. Yes, I think what he's trying to say, a premillennialist believes that Jesus Christ has to come first, and then he will rule for 1,000 years. Then there's a post-millennialist, And most of the premillennialists are rapture people, the left behind people. They are very premillennial. They believe they will be raptured first, and then things will go wrong, then Jesus comes and puts his reign. Then the postmillennialists are different. They say, no, we'll go through all the hell and high waters the world will go through, and then Jesus Christ will come, and then he'll have his 1,000 reign. Now, amillennialism was the dominant view of the Protestant reformers. Lutheran Church also rejected Chilism, and others who know the Augsburg Confession condemns the Anabaptists, and others who now scatter Jewish opinions that before the resurrection of the dead, the godly shall occupy the kingdom of the world, the wicked being everywhere suppressed. Are you seeing? This is the new, this shows you what amillennialists, who are the view of the amillennialists, Protestant amillennialists. And they believe that good people will, so-called godly people, shall occupy the kingdom of the world, and the wicked will be suppressed. So it's similar to what is called dominion theology that is out there. Dominion theology believes that Christians have to rule the world before Jesus Christ comes back again. Amillennialism has been widely held in Eastern and Orthodox churches, as well as the Roman Catholic Church, which embraced Augustine. Wow. So you see, the RCC is a very good friend of Augustine. They have surrendered to him fully. And amillennialism is also common amongst Lutheran, Reformed, Anglican, Methodist, and many Messianic Jews. Wow, that's very interesting. I didn't think Messianic Jews would be amillennial. Let's see. I think, okay, I have been with Messianic Jews. I've been with Messianic Jews, but I wasn't really a millennial. I think I was post-millennial, because the Messianic Jews I was with, they were focusing on Jesus Christ, on us going through the tribulation before Jesus Christ comes again. But when you find these Messianic Jews being amillennial, it may be that they believe that Jesus Christ is ruling. He's already ruling, so there's no need for you to wait for any tribulation, and that when Jesus is going to come, he's just going to come to bring a new heaven and a new earth, and he won't rule. There's no need for Jesus to rule on the earth. You see, the most important thing you need to know about amillennials is there is no need for Jesus to rule on earth. That is their view. But for me, what I used to be, I was post-millennial, meaning Jesus has to rule for 1,000 years. So we have to wait for him to come. Then he rules for 1,000 years. And then the world, there'll be a new earth and a new heaven. Well, I'll go and read this about the Messianic Jews later on. I didn't know they would be like that. And also the Amish, Old Mennonites, Conservative Mennonites, Christian Church Disciples of Christ, all of these Protestant churches are like that. So I want to find out, I'm going to read that on about the Messianic Jews. I didn't know they had that thing. The Everything Jesus book, his life, his teachings, Adams, with variations. Amillennialism is a traditional eschatology of the Catholic, Orthodox, Lutheran, Calvinist, Presbyterian, Reformed, and the Anglican and Methodist churches. Okay, so let's finish. We're done with amillennialism. So let's summarize amillennialism. We will summarize it in this other article of Christian eschatology, and this is how we'll summarize it, the way they have summarized it here. As I was telling you, these are the different views. Premillennialism posits that Christ's second coming will inaugurate a literal 1,000-year reign. So basically, early Christians, before this Christianity became legal, they believe Jesus Christ was coming to rule for 1,000 years. And that's a premillennialist. The standard premillennialism. And it will coincide with the time of Great Tribulation. At that time, there will be a resurrection of people of God who have died and a rapture of the people of God who are still living. Like now, what is happening, people are dying, and then you just say, no, don't worry. They are people of God, they are dying, but we are waiting for the rapture. We're waiting for the rapture. It's coming. It's coming. And then we'll meet. The rapture happens, and then we meet Christ. And when we meet Christ in the air, Christ will come and rule for 1,000 years. So that's a premillennialist. Then there are very many types of premillennialists, all of these ones. So I think I was a premillennialist, but I was of the post-tribulation. Now, the post-millennialists do not believe in a premillennial appearance of Christ. They believe that the millennium began at the inauguration of Christ's kingdom's reign, when he ascended to his heavenly throne, and happens not as a result of his coming of Christ, but as the global population converts to Christianity and as a result of evangelization. Now, these are post-millennial. I was not a post-millennial. Post-millennial, I used to go to a post-millennial church. What they do, they say, we have to preach the gospel to everybody, and then the end shall come. That is what a post-millennial church does. They preach the gospel of Jesus to everybody. But the problem with this, the global population converts to Christianity, which is very, very, very dicey. I mean, I remember when I used to do the outreach for that post-millennial church, and I was so flabbergasted. I would meet Muslims and meet people, and they don't want to be converted. And I was like, why should I force someone to join Christ when they have found peace in another religion? I didn't see the need of going for those evangelical outreaches for that reason. But this is the view of the post-millennialists, that Christ will appear at the end of the millennium to lead his people into the heavenly city, Jerusalem. Now, let's conclude our amillennialism. We're just touching those ones to show you. Amillennialism does not believe in a literal millennium, number one. The 1,000 years is an expression, a way of referring to the entire period from the first coming of Christ 2,000 years ago until the future second coming. Many amillennialists believe that during this time period, the church will continue to evangelize as well as grow, as well as suffer declination in periods until Christ's coming. The second coming will be a natural culmination of the process of the world evangelization rather than a revolutionary event that brings sudden dramatic change. So amillennialists are very quiet people. They're almost like asexuals, just living life, just do what you want to do. And yeah, that's it. Those are amillennialists. They do not believe in a literal millennialism. They are not waiting for Jesus to reign for 1,000 years. Because my problem was, if Jesus is going to reign for 1,000 years, will we have guns? I think there'll be no more guns. And what will happen to the police force? What will happen to the military? Those are very weird things I was asking myself when I was very deep in eschatology. So anyway, today I just wanted to look at amillennialism, and that's the idea. If you attend those churches or you have been to those churches, 80% you are a millennial and you're not thinking about Jesus coming to reign for 1,000 years. I mean, because you ask yourself, let's judge those who believe Jesus is going to rule for 1,000 years. Are the human beings living on earth, will they die? How will their bodies change? So does this mean that people are killed by God? That when people die, God is the one who takes their life? It could be. And that now when Jesus comes, nobody dies. Everybody lives for 1,000 years. But that's not the case. Jesus hasn't come. So if he's to come and then people live forever, then maybe those guys are right. The premillennialists and those who believe in the millennial reign. But as far as that's concerned, people are still dying and Jesus hasn't come. So millennialists are kind of having a good time. They're just focusing on life, and they have understood that the church can suffer declination. There are times when the church is not growing. Like now, Islam is growing fast. Are we gonna say, what are we gonna do? For those who are Christian, who are fighting for the Christian cause. And yeah, those are the questions. But anyway, we'll look at the others next time. Today, we will have to focus on amillennialism.